to my channel, guys. It's Elsabe from Bernina Edenvale and Schroefer Design South Africa. I'm actually doing my video for you, my first YouTube video in my new sewing room that we've been building for me. As you know, if you've been following me, when we had the lockdown starting in March, we started doing videos in our garage, and eventually we decided, okay, let's just get a little separate room for me where I can be working and have all my goodies around me, and I'm more organized. I can pack my books out. I've got my art stuff out. Everything is in this little room now. So I'm actually quite excited. I'll share some photos with you later on. For now, we're still busy moving into this room, so I've got nothing on the walls. So I might sound a little bit echoey. Just excuse it. As soon as we are getting more organized, or I get more organized, I'll start showing you photos of what it looks like. But I must say, I am so chuffed. If I'm looking that way there now. I've got a whole little section where I've unpacked all my art books. All my art stuff is there. My beading is there. I've started packing out all my sewing books. I've got a nice cutting table. So I'm feeling organized for the first time actually sewing at home. I don't have to be packing everything in little corners and little boxes. So I am so chuffed. But in any case, what I'm going to be doing, I mentioned on my Facebook page, is that I wanted to create a reference file for myself on sewing techniques. I've been wanting to do it for ages. I've got so many books that I've bought over the years on sewing techniques, tailoring, all sorts of books on techniques, and I've never really made time to sit and go through it and actually do the samples. And I thought, well, I know it's not New Year yet, but I'm already thinking of 2021. I wanted by next year, I wanted to actually have a reference file, my own little sewing technique books that I can just flip through every time I want to look at something or need inspiration or not too sure of a technique. And the response was that, it was actually quite a good response. People were saying they would like to do the reference file with me. If you've been with Bernina Edenvale for a while, you'll know I've been wanting forever to start with this, and we were planning it, and there's always something happening in the shop because we're so busy in the shop. So this is ideal now that we've got the YouTube channel, that I can actually share it with you. We can do the techniques together. So I want to encourage you to actually not just look at the video, take a sample or sample fabric and sew it with me and build your reference file. It's going to be so much fun. I'm even thinking, because I've packed my paints out, so as I said, I'm so excited. So I've actually decided that I'm going to get a nice file, and I'll do a bit of a mixed media just on the front cover of my file, just to make it unique, my file that I've got. So I want to see what you guys are going to be doing. So if you are doing anything like that, please share it with us. I always love seeing what you're doing, and share your samples that you're going to be making, so that we can see that you guys are actually enjoying the videos. I've got here, I didn't actually pull it out, but I've got some of my books here already. One of them was, I can't see it now, can't find it now, because it was this one. It was actually one of these books as well, which have got such a lot of beautiful techniques in it. And this is the book that I forever wanted to work through. So I've got this little book. I've got, just showing you, this dressmaker's technique book, which was a gift that I received. I've got step by step. I'm just showing you. So I'm actually going to be playing through these books and just pulling out, and we're just going to be doing different techniques. I've got this tailoring, which is quite an old one, this big sewing technique books. Even my complete guide to dressmaking has got some really beautiful techniques in there. So we're going to have fun while we're doing this. So I'll be pulling out every time a certain one. But the first one that I really wanted to do with you, it's not really from these books, but all our sewing machines, if you buy your sewing machine, I would say all, but most of our sewing machines comes with a blind input, and so many of you don't know how to use your blind input. We see it when we do our sewing machine lessons, that if someone has bought a sewing machine from us and we show them how to do the blind hem, and they actually never in their life knew how to do the blind hem. So I just thought, let's start with that, because it's a foot that everybody should have. Actually, if you are doing your dressmaking, and like I mentioned, most of your machines will come with that foot. I'm going to show you a sample of the foot now. So that's going to be the first one, just a nice sample with a foot that you've already got. You don't have to go buy new feet or anything for this technique. I just went and I bought 2 meters of calico. It's your unbleached, I think calico is your unbleached linen. Yeah, unbleached linen or cotton. No, now I'm blank if it's cotton or linen, but in any case, I just bought a really nice calico for myself to work on, and I bought 2 meters because I want to be consistent throughout my file. I decided I wanted the same fabric right through, but if you want to be colorful, that's going to be your file. You carry on working on whatever fabrics you've got. So that's what I'm going to be doing, and I'm going to be gluing it onto some paper. I've actually made myself a nice little page just for blind hems. I will see if we can share it on our SureFit page, if there's a file section that I can just save a PDF for you, and then just print it and put your samples on there as well. So that's going to be our first technique. So I hope you are going to make the samples with me. So I'm going to move to my sewing machine now, and let's get sewing on the blind hem. Let's have a look at the stitches that we use when we're going to do our blind hem. Now on the Bernina and most of my bonnettes, you will have the blind hem stitch, which will give you that straight stitch, and every now and then it does a little zigzag stitch, and it just catches the fabric with that tip of the zigzag. If you don't have this stitch, look for a stitch that looks like this. Now that stitch will give you a small little zigzag, and then what it will do is it just comes over the larger zigzag, and it must just catch the fabric. If you look at the images that I've put there, we don't want to be sewing all the way on this side and not catching the fabric. Here you can see that with this image it's gone too far over, so a lot of the thread will be showing on the right side of the fabric. The correct way of doing it is making sure that that tip just catches the fabric over there. Now if we look at your presser foot that you're going to need, for my Bernina it will be my presser foot number 5. And with the presser foot number 5, I've got this guide because I need to guide the edge of this fabric so that I keep sewing in a straight line. And also you'll see it's got this plate extends into this opening over there, and it's just so that when it forms the stitch goes over that little plate, and it just releases the thread just a little bit so I don't have too much pull on my fabric. With your bonnet and your other machines, you will be working, and I'm just grabbing this here, you will be working with this presser foot. So look for this in your, where you keep your presser feet. It's got an adjustable guide. So obviously if you need to just catch the thread, just catch the fabric, just move this until you see your needle is just entering the fabric on the tip. So I always do that test. I will show you now. Again, this is also a very nice foot for you, because if you are going to be doing edge stitching or top stitching, again with a machine where you don't have needle positions, you actually just move your guide around till your needle is in the right position where you want to sew for your top stitching or edge stitching. So it's really, really a nice foot for your machine as well. Let's have a look now how we're going to do it. I've prepared my fabric beforehand, and I've just gone and I've finished, and I've done an overlock stitch for myself. You can't, I've done it in the white, so you might not notice it now because I wanted it to be the same color so it's nice and neat. But when I'm going to do the sample now, I'm sewing with a pink, quite a bright pink thread, so that you can see my stitching that I've done. I've also gone and I've cut my thread. I think it's about almost 40 centimeters or about 38 centimeters, and I've also just folded it over as I'm doing a hem, and I went and I pressed it. So this is very important. Please press your fabric or your garments before you're going to do this hem. Now the first step that you need to do, we need to do a basting stitch. I need to keep this fabric when I'm going to fold it over for the blind hem. If I don't baste it, this fabric can roll and move against that guide on my presser foot. So I need to make sure that I baste it in place so that when I'm doing the stitching that I've got an even stitch all the way through. So you're going to go to your straight stitch, and you're going to put it to your longest stitch length, and then you can sew your basting stitch. Just guide it. I'm just going to guide it here. I'm just quickly going to sew it. I'm sitting from the side, so I just hope I'm going to sew straight. I'm looking from the side so I'm not in the way of the video. There we go. So I've done my stitch now, and the basting is done. So as you can see, I'm working really bright pink, but there's my basting stitch because I need to remove this after the stitch is done. Now you're going to choose the stitch that you're going to be doing your blind hem stitch with, and I found on my machine, sometimes I just need to move my needle position, maybe one position to the right. That's just my machine, but check on your machine and make sure that your settings are correct. Can you see what I'm doing? As you've got your fabric like this, just imagine you've got a skirt on that side. Your skirt is lying here. Here's your hem. You fold it over like that. Take the hem section and fold it under the excess of the fabric so that you've only got your edge left over there that you can see. And now let's go. I've got my stitch number 9 and I'm just going to, I must just change, let me just change my foot and put my number 5 foot on. There we go, because I need the guide now. All right, so now you can see the guide is placed. If you look at this, I'm placing the guide exactly on this fold where the fabric is folded over. And now I can start sewing. But before I start sewing, and now my shoulder, I'm going to try not be in the way, but I just go down and make sure I'm just catching over there. And I'm just going to go to beginning again. I just want to make sure I'm catching my fabric. So now all I need to do is I'm going to sew this, and it will do the straight stitch on this side where you won't be seeing it, and the zigzag will catch just this edge over there. So let me sew this. To work from the side, so I just hope I'm not catching too much or that I'm missing. Okay. All right. I just want to I've done the samples already, so I just wanted to show you something, because when I started sewing, I didn't do that. I specifically went for a wide pea or a long piece like this, because what I did the basting stitch, and when I did the basting stitch, I actually cut off a piece and I put it as my step 1 and I said baste. So this part is only basted. And then what I did with that one, and I just want to show you the stitch now. There's my stitch that I've sewn, and you can see that the excess of the fabric is on this little fold, and then it just goes over and it catches my fabric. So I went and I then cut a little piece off of this step, which was my step 2. And I just want to keep it there. So step 2, I said I used my stitch number 9, my foot number 5, and there's my sample. And can you see I can lift it if I want to see on that side what it looks like. The basting stitch is still there. Can you see there's my basting stitch? So step 1 for my file that I'm doing, and I want you to do it this way. You're going to do that long stretch, cut off a third of that fabric, glue it on, and that's your first step, basting only. Step 2, I've done stitch number 9. Basting is still in, and I went and I glued it down. My step number 3 is the little piece that was left, and I removed the basting stitch so that you can see. I've done for my sample, so you guys can see it on YouTube. On the video, I actually went a little bit further over. I went, I think, 1 position of my needle over, just so you can see the little spots of the pink thread there. And now, obviously, if I had a cream color and I had my needle exactly in the right position, you won't even be seeing your stitching over there. And you can see the basting stitches out there, it's still there. So we've got to remove it. So let's just go back to the sample that I've sewn now. So can you see there's the basting stitch? Again, I didn't move my needle to the right, all the way to the right, and that's what it looks like on this side. So now it is important, and I'm just going to grab a piece of my thread to remove your basting stitch. I'm just going to pull a little bit here so that I can remove a little bit to show you. Sorry. I'm just trying to get this out, guys. I left my unpicker inside, so I am just pulling a little bit. Just grab a little bit more. There we go. I'm just going to pull a little bit out to show you. So if you remove your basting stitch now, can you see? I'm just going to cut this off. Let's say that was your sample number 3 that you're going to do. If you had it in a cream color, And again, I would have moved my needle just slightly, like I mentioned to you. My machine likes that needle moved one position to the right, which I haven't done now because I really want to show you that little spot there, so that little dot of color. If I had my needle going more to the right, and like I mentioned to you I'm just going to go back, if I was catching too much of this, I would have a lot more of my color showing on this side. So we don't want that. We really want a perfect edge there. But if you look on this side now, can you see? There's my stitch. This side, if it was cream and my thread is matching my my fabric, you won't really notice your blind hem stitch over there. So that is what I want you to go and do, is make your sample and actually go and write on there. And I'm going to put this, if you want it, please go download it. I'm going to put it, I'll try and see if I can get it onto Facebook for you guys in a file somewhere. But go do step 1, baste, put your sample there. Go sew your blind hem, but still leave your basting stitch and cut a piece off, put it there, and then remove your basting stitch, and you'll see step 3, remove basting stitch. There, it's done. That's how I wanted to do it for my reference file, because I wanted to be able to see the stitches or the samples as I work through it. I'll also, if you are wanting to, I'll also load this, and you can also download this and print it so you can put it on your file as well. But that is the beginning of our reference file for now. That's how easy it is to do your blind hem. Our machines really, with all our stitches today, is really perfect for us wanting to try all these different techniques. If I take my first sewing machine that I had, I don't even know, I think I was about 19 or 18. I mean, that's years ago. If I just take the stitches that I had then and compare it to what we could do with those machines, there's just so much more. We are actually spoiled today with our fabrics, and I keep mentioning it always to everybody. We are absolutely spoiled with all our beautiful fabrics, with all the different threads that we get, our sewing machines that can do all these different techniques, that's offering us all these beautiful stitches. We might even do a bit of playing with decorative stitches as well when we're doing our reference file, just to give you a bit of information, how do we stabilize with that. So I must say, there is just so much going through my mind as I'm talking to you. I just keep on thinking of all these things that we can do and what I would like in my reference file. Some of you did go on that post that I did do on the Facebook, and you did mention what you would like me to look at as well and doing for the reference file, so I will definitely go through it. And then I'm going to try every 2 weeks, if I can every week. Otherwise, every 2 weeks we will be on a Sunday. I will just upload the next techniques video for you. So it gives you enough time to get your file now, get your fabric, do the sample, go get it in your file so that you're ready for our next one. So again, please share photos with me where I've done the post on Facebook. And also, if you've got more techniques that you would like me to look at, we will definitely look at those techniques. And we've started really with a nice basic stitch today, and we'll just move on and go more, maybe eventually into the tailoring techniques, all of those. It could be like a continuous series almost that we're doing, and just building up from almost beginners things up to the more advanced for our file. So it's actually quite a nice project if I think of it that way. It just gives us so much that we can actually show you, because we are all going online nowadays, and it's the perfect opportunity. In the shop, I feel, when we do the techniques, you know, everybody's trying to look over your shoulder, and we've got to go around to everybody's machine and try and show them again. So I just find today, with us being able to put it onto video format for you, it is just so much easier, because you can literally see step by step what we're doing. So I think we're going to have fun with this, let's call it our series, our sewing technique series that we're going to do. And please go sew these, go sew out your samples for these techniques, so that you've got it there ready for you whenever you are sewing and you just want to go back to something, that you've got it there on file for you. So guys, you must have a lovely week. We've got beautiful summer weather today, so it's been a lovely day. I love summer. It's really my favorite time. I'm not a person for cold weather, so I get more creative, and I get more busy with what I want to do in summer than in winter. Winter, when I'm cold, I don't do a lot. Not a lot, that sounds terrible, but I tend to not be creative because I'm cold. I want to sit with something warm and sit with a nice book and that. So But now, going into summer, I hope I'm going to give you lots of new stuff to look at. So have a lovely week. Speak to you next time.